clinic in this country, Cook County Hospital, Chicago. Round of applause for that, absolutely. It's the Irish Jews in Bridgeport that invent meat packing. So for all us fathers who get sent to the store to barbecue on our day off, you can thank Chicago for that too. But it was the Irish gentleman wanting to change the way that we butcher meat at the Chicago Union Stockyards that give us meat packing. In fact, it was German guy hanging with his Asian American friend in what we'll call a hookah lounge, who came up with something that we all use pretty much probably once a week. And so the Asian American homie was folding origami. The German homie was sitting next to him like, oh man, this is cool. Today we all eat rice when we go to Chinese restaurants, but in the 1890s we ate oysters. So the German homie watching his Asian homie fold origami, he says, hey, can you fold that back up to something that'll close? I want to take oysters home with me. The Asian homie does. The German guy takes a metal rod, sticks one end and one end, bends it over to the other side. Today we call that the Chinese takeout box, and it was invented right here in Chicago on the next block right on Dearborn Street. You know why? Because everything dope about America comes from Chicago. Yeah. We're not too far away from what we call Maxwell Street. It was in Maxwell Street where a dude took an amplifier and plugged it into a guitar for the first time in the world. See, those blues players came from Mississippi, so they didn't have to play over the L on Lake Street, or they didn't have to play louder than the Green Line. So when he got to Chicago, they couldn't hear his music. He took an amplifier, plugged it into a guitar. We now call that the Chicago style of blues, and it also led to rock and roll. You know why? Because everything dope about America comes from Chicago, right? If you've ever been extremely happy or extremely sad, you might have played some gospel music. Gospel music is dope, but gospel music as a concept also comes from Chicago. There was a gentleman by the name of Thomas Dorsey who very sadly lost his wife during childbirth. And so after that, he wrote what we will call a poem. A 17-year-old girl saw that poem about a month later. She convinced Thomas Dorsey to play a slow jazz riff. She sung that poem as lyrics. Today we call that song Precious Lord. The 17-year-old was Mahalia Jackson. That moment in time happened in Chicago because it's the greatest city on earth. Yeah, absolutely. Chicago has set the standard. In fact, if you're going to catch a plane out of here and it's in New York, you're going to use the time zones. Right on Jackson and LaSalle is where we set the time zones for this country. Because I'm a historian, I'm not allowed to lie because it's in the handbook. You can walk right on Jackson and LaSalle right now and read the sign, and it will tell you that everything dope about America comes from Chicago, including the 4 time zones for our country. And so what I want you guys to do is to understand that these 77 neighborhoods that we call home, they mean something to this world. And don't let outsiders tell us what kind of Chicago we have, because we have a beautiful and thriving Chicago. We're the only major city where you can use the entirety of the lakefront. Raise your hand if you've enjoyed a great day on the lake before, walking or jogging. We get to enjoy the entirety of the lakefront because of a businessman who had his business on State Street. So if you ever ordered Amazon Prime or Amazon anything, it got delivered to your house, you can thank Montgomery Ward for that. Because Montgomery Ward invented mail order catalogs. He invented cash on delivery. He's the first dude that said, hey, I'm going to send something to another dude's house and they'll pay me when the stuff gets there, right? That is now morphed into Amazon Prime. That starts here in Chicago. But he also decided that he would not let anyone violate the city's charter. So our original city charter says that the lakefront must remain free and clear for everyone. That's why there's nothing on the east side of Lakeshore Drive except for Lake Point Towers, which kind of snuck their way in, right, and McCormick Place. But other than that, there's nothing on the east side of Lakeshore Drive on the entirety of our city because Montgomery Ward sued the city over the rights to keep the lakefront clear. Right now, if one of you gajillionaires try to build something on the other side of Lakeshore Drive, the ghost of Montgomery Ward sues you because there is an endowment right now still earning the money because everything dope about America comes from Chicago. And sometimes those dope things start in a level of pain because the modern civil rights era for this country starts in Chicago. President Biden just made a location on the south side of Chicago a national monument. That's Robert's Temple. And it's because it was the site of Emmett Till's funeral, right? Absolutely, round of applause to the legacy of Emmett Till. And in August of 19